Welcome to Cruise News, your daily update on everything happening at sea. Visit cruisenews.io to see today's stories and sign up for email alerts. Imagine you're on a luxury cruise, right? You're sailing toward this absolute dream vacation, maybe, sipping a drink out on your balcony.
Oh yeah, sounds perfect.
Right. But then suddenly two missile-armed drones just crash into the port right next to your ship and send up these massive plumes of smoke. And I know that sounds like a pitch for some action movie, but that is exactly what just happened to thousands of passengers over in the Middle East.
It is wild, just completely unprecedented.
It really is. And, for our deep dive today, when you look at the landscape of maritime travel right now, we're seeing this rapid, almost whiplash-inducing evolution. Because from geopolitics forcing sudden cancellations to cruise lines doubling down on premium upgrades and brand new ships, today's stories really show how quickly cruise plans and onboard experiences can change.
Yeah, exactly. It forces us to look at how quickly both the global itineraries and, well, the actual onboard passenger experience are just shifting. So today, we're going to break down that severe operational freeze impacting TUI Cruises in the Middle East, which really highlights the sheer logistical vulnerability of global transit.
Right. The vulnerability is just massive there.
Absolutely. And then we'll look at how MSC Cruises is adapting to economic demands, right? They're retrofitting their older ships to capture that really lucrative premium market. And finally, we'll explore Disney's massive fleet expansion, which is aggressively aimed at capturing people who are entirely new to cruising.
Yeah, and let's actually start with this TUI Cruises situation because the scale of what is happening here is just staggering. We are looking at the stark reality of global maritime operations today. TUI Cruises has officially extended their cancellations for two of their ships, the Mein Schiff 4 and the Mein Schiff 5, and that's all the way through late March 2026.
Right, and we should clarify, these aren't just, minor itinerary tweaks where they skip one port because of bad weather.
No, not at all. Because of the ongoing conflict in the Middle East and the severe disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz, these two massive ships are effectively stranded. Mein Schiff 4 is currently docked in Abu Dhabi, and Mein Schiff 5 is sitting in Doha. They are completely unable to operate their published itineraries.
And more importantly, they cannot execute those big repositioning voyages towards South Africa and eventually up to Europe for the summer. The geography here really dictates everything.
Exactly.
Because the Strait of Hormuz is a critical, unavoidable choke point. It links the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea. So if you cannot safely transit that strait, you just cannot leave the Gulf, period.
You're just totally boxed in.
Yeah, boxed in. And TUI is relying on strict travel and security guidance from Germany's Foreign Office. They simply cannot move those ships out of the region without violating safety protocols and, likely voiding immense insurance policies.
Which is just a huge deal. And the operational ripple effect of that is massive. I mean, the cancellations expanded in stages as the reality set in, right? First, it was late February, then early March, and now Mein Schiff 4 is canceled through March 23rd, and Mein Schiff 5 through March 29th.
It's wild when you actually look at a map.
Yeah, it really is. It acts almost like a single blocked artery for the industry right now. You plug that one choke point, and suddenly the whole cardiovascular system of the winter season just, stops. And it completely wiped out their long-haul schedules.
Completely. Mein Schiff 5 was supposed to leave Cape Town on a 19-night repositioning voyage to Palma de Mallorca.
Right.
And Mein Schiff 4 had this similar 20-night repositioning cruise from Cape Town on the books for April. And all of it is just gone.
See, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Given that long-haul repositioning voyages were completely wiped from the schedule, how unprecedented is it for the industry to have to effectively airlift a small city's worth of passengers home right in the middle of a season?
Oh, it is a monumental crisis management operation. You have to remember, we aren't talking about rebooking a few commercial flights here or there.
Right. It's not just a delayed layover.
No. TUI had to execute a multi-step evacuation to repatriate nearly 10,000 passengers. 10,000, plus approximately 1,500 crew members across both ships. Think about what you would do if you were that logistics manager.
I would panic, honestly.
Right, because commercial flights out of the immediate area were instantly overwhelmed or grounded. So for Mein Schiff 5, after the conflict escalated on February 28th, TUI had to evacuate about 2,500 guests from Doha.
And they couldn't just fly them out of Qatar easily, right?
Exactly. They actually had to bus guests from Doha across the international border into Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Wait, they buzzed them across an international border? That's insane.
Yeah. They completed all the entry formalities and visa requirements en route, just so they could put them on charter flights to Munich, Frankfurt, and Cologne. They're coordinating with embassies, international security experts, and the security teams from their parent companies, TUI AG and Royal Caribbean Group.
Wow. And then there's the security context of why they had to move so fast.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to that drone incident I mentioned at the start on March 1st. This really underscores the gravity of the situation.
It does.
While Mein Schiff 4 was docked in Abu Dhabi, two missile-armed drones crashed in Port Zayed, literally right near the ship. They hit a warehouse area and triggered fires. There was visible smoke billowing near the vessel.
It's terrifying.
Thankfully, there were no injuries on board and the ship wasn't damaged. But the guests were instructed to follow emergency protocols, staying away from outer decks and windows.
It violently shatters the illusion of the carefree cruise vacation. When the real world encroaches on a billion-dollar floating resort like that, the liability is simply too high.
Yeah, you can't risk it.
And this disruption isn't isolated either. It's industry-wide. MSC Cruises had to cancel the rest of its winter season in the region, leaving the MSC Euribia docked in Dubai.
Oh, wow, MSC too.
Yeah. And Celestial Cruises confirmed cancellations for the Celestial Journey and Celestial Discovery because they couldn't reposition. Arroyo Cruises suspended all their planned voyages for the season. The entire regional cruise economy just hit a brick wall.
So now you have these massive floating resorts operating as literal ghost ships. Onboard operations are down to an absolute bare minimum. The reports say Mein Schiff 4 is functioning with just 59 crew members left on board.
Yeah, just 59.
Captain Yon Fortune and a skeleton crew are just sitting there. But, what does a skeleton crew of 59 actually do on a ship designed to hold over 3,000 people?
Well, they are running what is basically a life support system for a billion-dollar piece of maritime infrastructure.
Huh.
A modern cruise ship cannot simply be turned off and locked up.
Right, you can't just toss the keys and walk away.
Exactly. If you shut down the HVAC systems, the interior will succumb to mold and humidity damage within days. The engines need to be turned over, the water systems need to be flushed to prevent Legionnaire's disease, and you need a constant 247 fire watch.
That makes a lot of sense.
So those 59 people are maintaining essential ship functions, just waiting for a green light that might not come for a very long time.
It makes you realize how vulnerable these incredible assets are when they rely entirely on global geography. If you can't control the geopolitical map, what can you control? Well, MSC Cruises is proving that you can at least control the exact profit margins of the steel you already own.
That's a great point.
Right. Because while external forces can force sudden changes, cruise lines are aggressively changing their ships from the inside out to adapt to shifting economic demands. MSC is doing this by pushing their premium ship-within-a-ship concept, the MSC Yacht Club, deeper into their mainstream fleet.
That internal shift is a fascinating counterpoint to the external chaos. If the TUI situation shows vulnerability, the MSC strategy shows sheer financial control.
Yeah, they are dialing it in.
They really are. MSC recently opened bookings for future sailings on two of its older ships, the MSC Musica and the MSC Orchestra. The Musica is re-entering service in November 2026, and the Orchestra follows in March 2027.
But, isn't there a huge risk there? The MSC Musica entered service back in 2006. Slapping a VIP penthouse onto an 18-year-old hull, does today's luxury cruiser really want to sail on an older ship just because it has a new velvet rope?
It's a fair question.
Does this massive fleet-wide retrofit program indicate a structural realization in the industry that you have to upgrade your older tonnage with premium high-margin spaces just to stay competitive rather than relying solely on building brand new ships?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the economics of retrofitting are incredibly compelling.
Yeah.
Building a new megaship costs well over $1 billion and takes, 5 to 7 years of shipyard time and planning.
It's a massive commitment.
But an older hull like the Musica still has decades of structural life left.
The problem is that today's consumer, especially post-2020, is willing to pay a massive premium for exclusivity, space, and personalized service.
Right. They want the luxury experience.
Exactly. So if your 2006 built ship only offers standard balcony cabins, you are leaving millions of dollars of potential high-margin revenue on the table. By carving out a highly exclusive, restricted access area, MSC fundamentally changes the yield trajectory of that vessel for the rest of its operational life.
And it is a major structural undertaking. They are basically building a private VIP enclave with 63 suites. And this comes with 24-hour butler and concierge service, exclusive top-sail lounge, a dedicated restaurant, and a private sun deck featuring 2 hot tubs, a grill, and a bar.
That's a total transformation.
Yeah, they're even adding a new 2-room, 2-bedroom grand suite category. They aren't just adding new carpets, right? They are installing highly specific, high-margin venues. They're taking spaces that previously generated standard revenue and converting them into high-yield profit centers. And it creates a psychological moat.
Oh, how so?
Well, it keeps high-net-worth individuals within the MSC brand ecosystem. Instead of a loyal MSC cruiser defecting to a small luxury line like Seabourn or Silversea for a more exclusive experience, MSC can say, hey, stay with us.
We have what you want.
Right. We have the velvet rope experience you want, but you still get the massive theater shows and mega ship amenities, just an elevator right away.
And it's not just the Yacht Club getting the attention either. They are overhauling the rest of the ship to elevate the baseline experience, which, justifies higher ticket prices across the board. The redesigned MSC Aria Spa will feature a sauna with panoramic sea views, steam rooms, a salt room, and a night path.
The spa upgrades alone are huge.
Yeah, and they're putting in an updated fitness center powered by Technogym with dedicated spinning and yoga studios. Plus, the dining is getting a massive structural upgrade, adding Butcher's Cut, which is an American-style steakhouse featuring premium beef from Meat by Lynn's, and the Kaido Sushi Bar.
Which brings us to the deployment strategy.
Right, where are they sending them?
Well, where do you send these newly upgraded ships to actually extract that new premium revenue? MSC is being very strategic here. After her refit, MSC Musica is heading straight for a South America winter season from November 2026 through April 2027.
Oh, so they're heavily targeting the Brazilian market. Musica will offer 3- and 4-night cruises to places like Santos, Búzios, and Ilha Grande. But they're also pushing into new home ports, right?
Yes, exactly.
Between January and February, Musica will sail from Paranaguá, Itajaí, and Rio de Janeiro. MSC noted this will be the first time Yacht Club access is available on sailings departing from Paranaguá.
And that is a critical detail. They are taking this premium product and introducing it to emerging or localized markets that have an appetite for luxury but just haven't had the local supply.
That is really smart.
You introduce the Yacht Club to a fresh demographic in Brazil, establish the brand dominance there, and then, after the South American season wraps up, Musica does a 16-night transatlantic crossing in April 2027 over to Genoa to spend the summer doing Mediterranean cruises.
Okay, and what about the orchestra?
Meanwhile, the MSC Orchestra will take its new yacht club to the Eastern Mediterranean, sailing out of Bari, Italy, and hitting ports in Turkey and Greece, like Istanbul, Izmir, and Piraeus.
I look at this strategy, and it feels exactly like retrofitting a high-end, exclusive VIP penthouse onto an existing, established apartment building. You don't tear the building down, you just build a highly profitable layer on top of it.
That's a perfect analogy.
And the sheer scale of MSC's ambition is wild. They introduced the Yacht Club back in 2008. By the time the refurbishments on Musica and Orchestra are done, the Yacht Club will be on 20 of MSC's 24 ships.
It's basically fleet-wide at that point.
Almost. They're also putting it on the Pellesia and Magnifica in summer 2026, and they are pairing it with massive land-based investments like the new state-of-the-art terminal facilities debuting in Port Miami and Barcelona in 2025.
It is a seamless, premium end-to-end experience designed to control the onboard revenue stream entirely. But, while MSC is maximizing the hardware they already have, other players in the industry are taking a completely different approach.
Right, which brings us to Disney.
Yes. They are banking entirely on the power of software like storytelling and intellectual property to physically expand the cruise market to demographics that have never historically taken a cruise.
Which perfectly sets the stage for Disney Cruise Line. During the Walt Disney Company's 2026 annual shareholders meeting, the newly appointed CEO, Josh D'Amaro, unveiled the name and theme of their newest ship on his very first day leading the company.
Talk about making an entrance.
Seriously, it's called the Disney Believe, and it's set to sail in late 2027. It's the 4th ship in their Wish class lineup.
And with Disney, you really have to look at the ship design differently. The steel is almost secondary to the narrative.
How do you mean?
Well, every Wish class ship has a defining motif. The Disney Wish is enchantment-themed, the Disney Treasure is adventure-themed, and the Disney Destiny is built around heroes and villains. For the Disney Believe, the guiding motif is promise and possibilities. They describe it as a tribute to dreamers and doers.
It's brilliant marketing, but it's not just a tagline, right? It dictates the entire physical environment of the ship. Disney announced that the Believe will heavily integrate stories and worlds from massive, heavy-hitting IPs. Encanto, Frozen, Snow White, Moana, and The Little Mermaid.
The heavy hitters.
Yeah, these stories are going to be baked into the stateroom decor, the rotational dining themes, the lounges, and the live shows.
And this is where the industry mechanics get really interesting. Integrating an IP like Encanto fundamentally changes ship architecture. It's not just, painting a character on a wall.
Right, it's deeper than that.
It changes the flow of the ship, how the dining rotation operates, how the crew interacts with the guests. And the business metrics driving this expansion are astounding. Disney executives have made it clear they are seeing unprecedented demand.
Yeah. If you're looking at booking a family vacation right now, Disney's numbers here will actually shock you. Disney Cruise Line is reportedly more than 80% booked for the 2026 fiscal year already.
That is just unheard of.
Yeah.
This far out.
But here is the stat that completely changes the game. Josh DiMauro stated that 40% of Disney Cruise Line guests are entirely new to cruising. 40%.
In the cruise industry, customer acquisition cost is usually sky high. Traditional lines spend a fortune fighting over the exact same pool of existing cruisers, trying to poach a loyalist from a competitor by offering onboard credit or free drink packages.
Right, the usual tactics.
But Disney bypasses that fight entirely. They are expanding the pie. They aren't trying to convince a maritime enthusiast to sail with them. They're convincing a Disney theme park fan that their next resort vacation should happen to float on water.
Pulling in 40% new customers is the holy grail for any business. It really is like a rock band where nearly half the crowd at every single arena show has never even listened to live music before. They're just there because they love the lead singer's movies.
That's exactly what it is.
But wait, with Disney pulling in so many first-timers through pure IP integration, Encanto, Moana, Frozen, are they fundamentally changing the definition of what a cruise is for the broader industry? Like, are we shifting from a traditional maritime vacation to essentially a floating theme park?
I would argue we have already crossed that threshold. For that 40% of new cruisers, the ocean outside the window is almost irrelevant.
Wow, irrelevant.
Yeah, it is just a very beautiful, very vast moat around their theme park. They are booking an immersive multi-day Disney resort experience. The ship is the destination. And this forces every other mainstream cruise line to elevate their onboard attractions because Disney is resetting the baseline expectations of what a family vacation at sea looks like.
And they are scaling up aggressively to meet that demand. The Disney Believe is just one piece of a broader expansion plan to grow their fleet to 13 ships by 2031, up from the 8 they have today.
It's a massive build-out.
We just saw the Disney Adventure, a massive 6,700-passenger global-class ship christened in Asia, starting its maiden voyage from Singapore. That ship literally has a Big Hero 6-themed street and a roller coaster at sea. Plus, they are debuting a new mid-size ship class in 2029, and they struck an agreement to bring Disney cruise operations to Japan starting that same year.
It is a strategy of total global saturation. When Josh DiMauro says their ambition is delivering more ships to more destinations with more stories, he means using their intellectual property as a battering ram to open up new global markets.
It's working, clearly.
Oh, absolutely. If you synthesize these three developments we've discussed today, you see an industry in a state of rapid, sometimes forced, evolution. On one hand, you have the harsh geopolitical realities in the Middle East, forcing TUI Cruises to drop anchor, proving that global itineraries are incredibly fragile.
Very fragile.
But on the other hand, you have immense internal resilience and adaptation. MSC is carving out highly profitable, exclusive luxury enclaves on their older vessels to control their yield and meet the economic demand for premium travel. And Disney is leveraging blockbuster movies and pure storytelling to lure massive numbers of first-time sailors, expanding the industry's reach into entirely new demographics.
It's a fascinating contrast.
It is. The onboard experience and the global footprint of cruising are shifting faster than ever before.
It really makes you wonder about the future of the vacation itself. With external choke points like the Strait of Hormuz threatening traditional global itineraries and cruise lines simultaneously investing billions into massive onboard upgrades, VIP enclaves, and immersive IP-driven megaships. Wait, are we rapidly approaching an era where the ship itself is the entire destination and the actual ocean outside is just the backdrop?
Thanks for listening to Cruise News. Visit cruisenews.io to catch up on the latest updates and sign up for free email alerts.